For centuries, Rome was the center of the world, a titan of power, culture, and ambition. Its marble temples and grand amphitheaters stood as symbols of an empire that seemed eternal. From the rainy frontiers of Britain to the scorching deserts of Africa, its influence was absolute. But even the mightiest empires can fall, and the story of Rome's collapse isn't a simple tale of one battle or one bad emperor. It's a complex, dramatic saga of a civilization slowly unraveling from the inside out. To understand how it all ended, we need to go back. To walk the streets of this legendary city and see the cracks forming long before the final fall. The decline didn't start with an invading army at the gates. It began with ambition turning into greed. Emperors, once seen as protectors of the people, became consumed by their own power. Political assassinations were just another tool in the game of power. Loyalty wasn't to Rome anymore. It was to the highest bidder, to the general who promised the most gold. The Senate, which had been the backbone of the Republic, was reduced to a rubber stamp for the wealthy elite. In this toxic climate, leaders rose and fell with shocking speed. A celebrated hero one day could be a corpse in the forum the next. At the same time, the empire was enormous. Its borders stretched for thousands of miles, from the Sahara to Scotland. Defending this vast territory required a massive army, the largest the world had ever seen. But this army was becoming a problem. Soldiers' loyalty was often to their commanders, not to the distant emperor in Rome. More and more, the ranks were filled with mercenaries, foreign warriors who fought not for the glory of the empire, but for pay. They had no real connection to Roman ideals. The very military that had conquered the world was now becoming a source of instability, ready to march on Rome itself, if the price was right. And what about the economy? Rome's wealth was legendary, built on trade routes that brought silk, spices, and grain from every corner of the known world. But this prosperity was built on a fragile foundation. Endless wars and political instability led to rampant inflation. The value of coins plummeted. To pay for the army and lavish lifestyles, emperors raised taxes to crushing levels, especially on farmers who formed the backbone of the economy. Corruption was everywhere, with officials siphoning off vast sums of public money. The average citizen grew poorer and more cynical. Faith in the government, in the very idea of Rome, was fading fast. This economic crisis fueled social decay. The gap between the fabulously wealthy and the desperately poor grew into a chasm. While the rich held extravagant feasts, many in the cities relied on free grain handouts just to survive. The famous gladiatorial games and chariot races were a spectacular distraction, but they couldn't hide the deep unrest simmering just beneath the surface. Millions of enslaved people who performed most of the empire's labor lived lives of brutal hardship, Their discontent was a constant, simmering threat, occasionally boiling over into violent revolts. The social fabric that held the empire together was tearing apart. While Rome was rotting from within, new threats were gathering on its frontiers. Tribes that the Romans had long dismissed as barbarians were becoming more organized and powerful. From the vast steppes of Asia, the Huns, a nomadic and ferocious people, began a westward migration. Their advance pushed other Germanic tribes, like the Goths and Vandals, right up against the Roman borders. These groups weren't just raiding anymore. They were migrating in massive numbers, sometimes seeking refuge, other times looking for land to conquer. The weakened Roman army, stretched thin and plagued by internal conflicts, struggled to hold the line. The borders were becoming porous. Then came the moment that sent a shockwave across the entire ancient world. In the year 410, the city of Rome itself, Eternal City, was sacked. The Visigoths, led by their king Alaric, breached the walls and plundered the city for 3 horrifying days. For the first time in 800 years, an enemy army was inside Rome. The psychological impact was devastating. If Rome itself could fall, what was safe? The illusion of invincibility was shattered forever. This wasn't the end, but it was a clear sign that the end was near. The final decades of the Western Roman Empire were a whirlwind of chaos. Emperors became little more than puppets, installed and removed by powerful generals who were often of Germanic origin themselves. The government ceased to function effectively. The final act came in the year 476. The last emperor in the West, a young boy ironically named Romulus Augustulus, was quietly deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. Odoacer didn't even bother to name a successor. He simply sent the imperial insignia to the Eastern Roman Emperor in Constantinople, signaling that the Western Empire was no more. It had dissolved into a patchwork of competing barbarian kingdoms. But the story of Rome doesn't just end in ruin and despair. Its legacy is all around us. Roman law became the foundation for many modern legal systems. Its language, Latin, evolved into French, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. Its engineering marvels, from aqueducts to roads, still stand today. And while the West fell, the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as Byzantium, thrived for another 1,000 years, preserving and passing on the vast knowledge of the classical world. The fall of Rome is more than just a history lesson. It's a timeless warning. It shows us what can happen when political corruption runs rampant, when economic inequality becomes extreme, and when a society loses its sense of unity and purpose. It reminds us that no civilization, no matter how powerful or advanced, is guaranteed to last forever. The ruins of the Forum and the Colosseum are not just tourist attractions. They are silent monuments to both the incredible heights of human achievement and the fragility of empire. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, be sure to like and subscribe for more.